know about the refiner's fire. You know, gold has to be refined in order for it to look its best. And so pruning is the process. Now I don't want to talk too much because I'm going ahead of myself. But I want to talk about pruning that garden because we're going beyond the bloom. But there are some things that we have to undergo in order to be that, to go beyond the bloom. And there's some pruning that does happen, you know, because we know that we have to be prepared. Like when I went to school, I couldn't just, even though I am by trade a math professor, and I knew that teaching was in my blood at a young age, but I couldn't just go right in the classroom and start teaching. I had to be prepared. I had to go through some purging and some pruning. So when I walked in the classroom, I would be, you know, knowing what I need to know in order to execute the job that I was trusted to do. But anyway, I want to say this before I start. LaShonda, God bless you, and thank you so much for trusting me. And the fact that your sister, I call her my cinnamon roll. Cinnamon roll, I tell you, I mean, we hit it off the first day we met. It was at 6:30 in the morning in Miami at a hotel. And she was the first face I saw when I got off the elevator to go to the beach. And from that moment until this, the rest has been history. That was in June of last year. So I want to say again, thank you so much. And you know you are a blessed young lady, and I know you did a great job. And I meant to tell you to save me some juice. I was prepared for this presentation. I meant to tell them to save me some juice. So I hope you have a little bit left over so I can thank you so much. And then she is so sweet, y'all. I thought she was going to leave, check out today, and go back home. But I found out that she changed her schedule because I got here a day early. So she decided to come to the hotel a day early. And so she decided, I'm going to go ahead and stay and see you off tomorrow. So that's a real friend right there. Okay, so I don't take friends for granted. That's right. So pruning the garden, keys to spiritual growth. So what I want to talk about today are the following topics. What is pruning? First of all, we got to know what it is. The purpose of pruning, types of pruning, understanding the experience. That's key right there. Guiding my purpose, characteristics to live by. And then, of course, we'll have a little Q&A and some comments if you have any. Well, what is pruning? And I'm glad you asked. Pruning is the process of cutting away dead or overgrown branches and stems. In other words, pruning is the selective removal of certain parts of a plant, such as branches, buds, and roots, to increase fruitfulness and growth. I want you to look at what was behind the words, in other words. Pruning is the selective removal of certain parts of a plant, such as branches and buds and all those roots, to increase the fruit. So certain things have to be pulled away and removed in order to be fruitful, in order to grow, in order to excel and expand. So now, from the spiritual standpoint, pruning is God's process of removing sin, distractions, and unhealthy habits from a believer's life to foster spiritual growth and produce more fruit. That's what God does to us. And even for those that may not believe like me, but you do have a spiritual self that does reside in you. And so some people may say, okay, you go through life and certain things may happen that may not be favorable. And you ask, why me? But that's that pruning process. See, you have to go through something in order to grow and understand. So that way you will know what to do or what not to do should it ever happen again. Or to avoid it altogether. So that's the pruning stage. So we have to pick away, pull all the layers back. And so my reference does come from the Bible. Can't help myself. According to John 15, verses 1 and 2 in the New International Version, and it reads, I, which is Jesus, am am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. So the gardener does the pruning. Verse 2, he cuts off every branch that bears no fruit. So if it's something in your life that's hindering you from achieving your maximum potential or from going beyond the bloom, God pulls it away. Okay, that's the pruning process. So, while every branch that does bear fruit, I say every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes so that it will be even more fruitful. So he does that for us. That is love. Now the fruit, and I'm not talking about apples and oranges or lemons. Thank you for the understanding. The fruit refers to behaviors such as joy, love, and kindness, which are Christ-like behaviors, or for those that may not believe, which are good behaviors. I'll put it that way. Things that you need to live by, okay, in this world. Now, I gotta go to the scripture. According to John 15, verses 3 through 4, and it reads, you are already clean because of the word I have spoken to you. So one thing I know, even if you have to go through it, you've already won the battle. Okay? Because it is finished. It's already done. I would like to expound on that further, but I'm going to stop right there. Remain or abide in me, as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain on the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain or abide in me. So your spiritual self, so you can't do it alone. You have to have some help. And one of the things that I said that I wanted to set out to do is let others know that there is hope, that you're not by yourself. There is someone, the greater one, that loves you and wants the very best for you. And so, but you got to abide, you got to remain with in order for you to be productive. Because you can't do it by yourself. Because we live in a sin-sick world. And we know that those evil things, they try to take us out. They try to devour us. And sometimes we may think we're about to lose our mind. And I know us women can relate to that. Because I've been there before. Well, I thought I was going to lose my mind. But all I can say, and I can't help myself, is but God. I thought I was going to lose my mind. But here I am standing before you, able to let you know that victory is ours. So therefore, pruning is an act of loving discipline. Notice I underline the words love and discipline. Pruning is an act of loving discipline, not punishment. Because some people say, why me? Why did this happen to me? Oh, don't look at it like that. Look at it like, what am I going to learn from this? What do I need to do or change to make me better? Because it's all about self-care, y'all. It's intended to make believers, to make you, ladies, more like Jesus and dependent upon him. Or more like your intended self, if you will, for those that they'll say, oh, they'll make you more like who you were called to be. Okay, how about that? All right. So, the purpose of pruning, continuing to talk about the purpose, is to encourage more fruit, because we know that God prunes fruitful branches so they will be even more fruitful. The next thing is to remove what is unproductive and harmful, because there are things and people that don't mean us any good. I remember I was out, and a young lady told me, she said, you have somebody that's in your circle that means you no good. And the thing about it, though, another person who, the lady, they didn't know each other, told me the same thing. And it was true. The young lady, and I hate to say this, was jealous. And it showed because she started downing the fact that I hadn't been married. I think at that time I had to be about maybe, probably about 41, 42. I was shortly after I bought my house. And so she had been married, I think 3 times. And divorced all 3. And was seeing a guy, she told me all about it, she was liking him. Found out he was seeing another woman. And so I said, well, I believe in just waiting and trusting and depending on God. And so she had a problem with that. That hurt my feelings so. It came out. And so that's that pruning process. Even though it put tears in my eyes, and I thought this young lady was my friend, but that's the pruning process. God said, I had to let you know. It had to happen to you. I have to allow this to happen for you to grow. Okay? He doesn't know. You're not married yet because I got an assignment for you to do, Keva. You got to do some traveling for me. You had to take care of your mama before she passed away. You had to be by her bedside. You had to help your brother. We had to go to the hospital. He had to have his leg amputated above his knee. I was right by his bedside. Big sister, little brother. So you couldn't be married, Keva, because you had assignments to do. So I'm here to tell you that there are assignments for you to do. And God will allow certain things to happen to help you to grow, to help you to mature, to empower you to be all that you have been called to be. And that's what it's all about, ladies. It's all about going beyond the bloom, the pruning process. So we got to pull back the bad stuff. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that bad stuff too. Woo, to remove, like I said, what is unproductive and harmful. And you don't want anything harmful. And then mothers out there, you are willing to go through hell and high water to remove anything that may hurt your child. That's right. You will sacrifice. If you have to pick up a car, if your baby is on if you got to pick it up to get your baby, you will do it. So that's what God does for us. That's what he does for us. And also to cleanse and purify. Pruning purifies believers or purifies people from things that bring spiritual death, things that try to devour you, things that try to make you give up on life, things that try to let you say that there's no hope, those types of things. That's what pruning does. It cleanses and purifies. And that you know you can do anything as long as you set your mind to it. Also to promote spiritual growth and renewal. Pruning is a painful, and yes it is, but necessary process that leads to spiritual growth and helps believers, helps people become more like Jesus. I can't help myself because that's what I know, that's what I live by, and that's who I am. And I had a young lady who works at my job. She was telling a dual enrollment student, for those of you who are not familiar with dual enrollment, what it is that certain colleges allow high school students to take college level classes at their campus for credit. Well, our school has about, let's see, maybe about 40% of the student population is dual enrollment, y'all. Wow, and so she told one of the, this is an assistant director. She said, I told these students about you. She said, they're going to love you. I told them they're going to love you. And you can't guess, I had never heard this phrase before. She said, you will have church math with Dr. Young, bro. I said, you told her that? She said, yeah, I told her that. I said, I will get you, Lori. But anyway, I do enjoy my students. They come off, I think they enjoy me, I don't know. But I enjoy working with them. Amen. So I know they be challenged though. But it's all right. It's hard, y'all. They're trying to survive and keep their heads above water. So, types of pruning experiences. Now I can't get into too much detail about the experiences, but I'm going to talk about this one and then I'm going to have to hit the other two. Because this presentation, I was so excited. I said, Shonda will look at me and give me them eyes, and she gonna say, girl, you got to sit down. Because it's so much. Oh my goodness, it's so much. But anyway, changes in your life. And these are some of the changes here, y'all. An unexpected loss or sudden removals. People people leaving your life and or opportunities, okay? That breakup, okay? That person you thought that was your friend but really wasn't, all right? And then they can signify God removing what may hinder you from moving into your greater. Because greater is there. You possess it already. The next thing, closing doors on familiar opportunities. Now that's one I can believe. You apply and interview and you still don't get the opportunity. Why? I know I qualified. Better yet, I might be overqualified, but I still don't get it. Facing continuous closed doors after pursuing a dream. You almost want to give up, but don't give up and don't give in. This is God's way of closing paths that do not align with his plans for your life. You just can't see it because he sees the end from the beginning. Challenges to your character and your comfort zone. Oh, things that used to work for you that don't work anymore.
Right.
Which forces you to move out of your comfort zone and adopt new ways of operating. All right, so things that go beyond the scope of your understanding that happen. And it's like, what? This used to... No, it's time to grow. You are being pruned. You got to blossom. Now, these are the others, but I can't talk in detail about it because of my time. So, internal and spiritual shifts, which means a character construction, narrow focus, feeling set apart, and sense of greater things to come. Now, that's a heavy one right there. That's a shift. I wanted to talk about that in more detail because that was right there. Yes.
You have some more time.
I have some more time.
You are the one that said 30 minutes.
Oh, okay. So I was prepared for it. All right. Thank you. Yes. This right here, what happens is that your mind and your spirit start warring with one another. Yeah. There are things going on. It's like, well, why is this? I used to do that and I was okay. But now when I do it, I don't feel right. That's a shift right there. That's part of the pruning process. Because we got to go beyond the bloom. So you got to go through it. And also, too, when you go through these things, you can tell somebody and you can help them too. Because, see, it's not just for you when you go through something. It is to help others along the way. So keep that in mind and don't forget that. Narrow focus. Feeling set apart. I feel like the oddball in this bunch. These people want to go here. I don't want to go. What's wrong with them? Is something wrong with me? Feeling out of place. Where you used to feel in place. It's another one right there. Yeah. Sense of greater things to come. Going beyond where your four walls are. It's something greater that I am called to do. Why was I created to live on this earth? Because all of us have a purpose and a calling in life. And trials and disappointments, right there. Oh, now that one, I believe I can put my face next to that one. Unforeseen losses and hardships. Y'all might not believe me when I say this to y'all, and I'm going to give a little bit of a brief of like a testimony. Back in 2022, that was one of the years that my mom was in the hospital. My brother had just gotten out of the hospital the year before after a leg amputation. So I was spending 6 months for 3 years in the state of Tennessee, my hometown, which is in Memphis. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. My house suffered, and my bank account did too. When I went back home, I never forget it, in July of 2022, I had just bought some lift chair recliners, one for my mom and one for my brother. My mama was in rehab and my brother was recovering well. I get back to take care of my business and my house. I checked my bank account. I had no money in my bank account. The lady told me $0. single woman. My father, there was 32 years at that time. Brother on disability, mom in rehab. But I'm here to tell you, woo, help me, Father, on today.
Yeah, I hear you.
Not one time did I miss a mortgage payment or utility bill. And I'm going to tell you now, God told me, because you took care of your mama and your brother's sacrifice, I'm going to take care of you.
Yes.
And he's been doing it ever since.
Yes.
Even in the loss of my mom, I feel like, and I hear my friends laughing. I say, I know they say in heaven, because I believe that's a real place, I just got to tell you, that Jesus sits on the right hand of the Father. But I believe with all my heart that my mama is been next to Jesus for a while. She said, help my daughter and help my son. Because you know the struggle that she went through. Because there have been miraculous things that have happened since after December 3rd that blow my mind. I can tell you this, so I was so tired one day in January. It was the day I had to go to work. The next day, I think it was on a Thursday. I get a call and a text message from my job. There was a water main break, and they had to close the school. Not only they closed it on Thursday, they closed it Friday too. I said, I needed a break. So I'm calling my friends. I said, thank you, Mama. So I tell my brother that too. I said, I believe she talking to Jesus. I promise you. She said, help him, because she said, you know what I put her through. So to all of that to say that going through that experience, it had to help me to grow. It had to keep me humble. It had to show me that there's nobody greater than the one who sits high and looks low. I'm here to show you love. And if I had to come all the way from Atlanta, Georgia, to let you know that you are loved, you are cherished, and you are valued, it was worth every penny.
Yes.
I promise you, because I did not think that I could make it with that happening. But God told me I will take care of you, and that's what he's been doing. I just recently checked on some things, and when I heard what the lady said, it blew my mind. I said, God, only you can do it. Only he can do it. So anyway, going back to this. That's where the test of your faith comes into play right there.
That's true.
Because see, I thought I had faith, y'all, before the pandemic. But it was during the pandemic when my faith got really tested. Oh, it got really tested. So continuing to keep it on. So also confrontation with seeing something that you're doing that's really not right. You know, you go through that pruning process. You have to get away from it because you got to be all that you have been created to be. Understanding the experience. These are things that I want you to leave with to understand the why behind the pruning or the bad experience or the disappointment. And that is, I want you to remain steadfast. So in other words, you are called to remain in Christ, but I'm going to put it in a general sense. You are called to be your very best self. How about that? In other words, stay connected to the vine. Don't lose the vine. You got to trust and believe that you're going to come out on the other side shining and a winner. The next thing is to cooperate. Now that's a good one right there. Cooperate and surrender. So this requires submissive and surrender cooperation in the pruning process. So in other words, like my girlfriends will tell me, trust the process. Trust it. You might not understand it, but yet I trust it. Now this one, a lot of us got to do. The last one. I'm going to have to hot scream this one. Let go of the past. Leave it behind you. Doesn't matter anymore. We must let go of past hurts. Especially if the man cheated. Oh, good God. I have heard of my friends tell, girl, I went, I found out the woman where the woman stayed. My friend worked for the police department. I found my jeans, my tennis shoes, and she said I had a Vaseline too. I sat in front of the girl's house in my car at 5 o'clock in the morning. I had friends that did that. And so, negative attitudes. And well, actually, he was at her house. She found out he was at the woman's house. Okay. And other dead voices. In other words, you gotta release that hurt and let it go. That may be a hard one to do, but you can do it in the pruning process. Release the hurt, y'all. Because it's not working, because what it's going to do is make you sick. Because that causes sickness and disease. Okay, because you don't see that. Y'all won't take me there. Because that's called unforgiveness. Okay, so you got to forgive. In order for you to prepare, in order for you to become empowered, in order for you to walk in your destiny, you have to forgive. Because you're not doing it for that person. You're doing it for yourself. That's what it gives you peace. Somebody talk about that peace. It gives you love, be able to love others in spite of. Because that's the one thing I had to learn to do, to love people in spite of themselves. But you have to have tough skin to do that. That's where the pruning process comes in. It gives you that tough skin. I tell people I feel like I'm a plate of steel now. And you know, anything that hits steel, it falls right off. The steel is not home. It's standing. It doesn't move. It doesn't dip. It doesn't bend. It's still, it's staying. So let it go, y'all. Let it go. Release it. Now, guiding my purpose. These are characteristics that I believe that will help you. And I didn't just pull these out of the air. This was some research right here. Wisdom. To value the things of God, or to value the things that are most valuable to you. Now, you know the saying goes, as we get older, we become wiser. That's what that comes in. Understand, to grasp faith's mysteries. The thing about it is that it says, I was a song I'm thinking about by Tamala Mann. It's called Help Me. She says, Lord, give me the faith to believe, so when I'm afraid, I can still see that you're with me. Help me. Because sometimes it's hard when you're going through something, you don't know what's going to happen, but know that you're going to come out on the winning side. Counsel to make wise decisions. Now that's another thing. Now, sin will cloud your decision making. Okay? So we don't want to have clouded decision making. We want to be able to make wise decisions. 42, to strengthen your will, to strengthen your courage. Have the courage. Okay? Stand up for what you believe in. Don't let anybody talk to you any kind of way. But I don't think that anybody that does that in here. I think these some strong, powerful women up in this place, Lord. So you don't have to worry about that. Knowledge to enlighten your mind. We're never too old to learn, y'all. We learn something, I hope, well, I know, I believe I learn something every day. Every day. And then piety, to love and serve God, or love yourself, you know, if you don't believe, but to love yourself, or love others, and then fear of the Lord. In other words, respect, or some people say, respect the universe, okay? Respect the higher power. That's where that comes in. Okay. Now, I think I'm almost done. Yep, I am done, y'all. So, I am here to tell you that the pruning process, it is definitely not easy. But we have to hold fast. And there's a song, I don't know if I'm telling y'all this. I hadn't listened to it since I've been in things, but I'm going to listen to it later on today. It's a song that was played back in 2010 called Stretch Out. And that song resonated so high with me last year. It says, you have to believe You cannot give up. You cannot give in. You are always going to win. And you have to stretch out and know that you have the faith, you have the power to achieve your maximum potential. And that's what we're all created here for. And so I'm here to tell you to keep moving. Don't look back, because the past can bring up some bad and negative vibes, and you don't want to do that. You want to stay focused on the prize, okay? And that's being beyond the bloom. The pruning is just that process of pulling back the layers. It may hurt sometimes, but I promise you, it's to help you to be all that you can be. So are there any questions or comments at this time? Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to say, I really needed this, and your message just confirmed some of the challenges that I've been facing. And in the pruning process, when you identify, that's the thing, you gotta first come to the sense of identifying that something needs to be pruned. And then you got to believe that it needs to, and so the purple lady DJ over here, where she was talking about purple lady DJ morning, you know, knowing yourself and all of those kinds of things, you know, and God is so good, because I know y'all don't know each other, but your messaging has been consistent and woven together for those that are here. And I know, I don't know about none of y'all, but I know for me, this has been very uplifting. And Kim, you gotta get your shit together.
Oh, I love it.
You
I
know,
love
stop recording. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
The
Kim.
work is to to be committed to do the work,
Yes.
not